The interstellar commerce convocation happened once every 4 years. It happened with the specific, accumulated quality of something that had been happening for long enough that the happening had built its own particular character, the particular, dense quality of the significant gathering that understood its own significance, and that was, in the understanding, present in the significance with the full quality of somewhere that knew what it was, and that was, in the knowing, doing what it did with the complete quality the doing required. 12,000 delegates, 47 civilizations, the grand convocation hall of the 10th station, the specific architectural quality of a space built for the function of containing 12,000 delegates from 47 civilizations with the complete quality that the containing required, which was to say, very large, very loud, and possessed of the particular ambient quality of somewhere that was simultaneously the institutional function's formal space, and the practical reality of 12,000 people doing what 12,000 people did when they were gathered in the same space for the significant purpose. Cale Davin had been doing what he had been doing for the previous 40 minutes, which was looking for a seat. He was 33 years old, an Accord mid-level trade provisions analyst, and he had the specific quality that 7 years of the trade provisions work had built in him, the particular, methodical quality of someone who spent the significant majority of his professional existence in the careful analysis of the documents and the frameworks and the specific, technical quality of the provisions that governed the resource exchange between the Accord's member civilizations. He was good at the analysis. He was less good in the specific, honest admission of someone who knew his own qualities with the honest attention the knowing deserved, at the convocation's ambient function, the networking and the delegation finding and the particular social quality of the significant gathering that required the particular social capability the significant gathering required. He had been to 2 previous convocations. Both times he had spent the first afternoon looking for a seat. The convocation hall's seating had the specific, complex quality of the significant gathering's social architecture, the particular arrangement of the delegations and the affiliations and the institutional relationships all present in the seating with the full quality of the social architecture's accumulated significance. Every seat communicated something. The seat's occupant and the seat's neighbors and the seat's position in the hall's arrangement all communicating the specific, institutional picture of the social architecture's current state. He did not understand the social architecture. He understood trade provisions. He had been looking for a seat for 40 minutes when he found one. It was at the hall's eastern section, the specific, particular quality of somewhere slightly removed from the convocation's densest concentration, the particular quality of a seat in a row that had the specific, notable character of being largely empty in a hall that was largely full. He looked at the largely empty row. He looked at the hall's largely full character. He assessed, with the trade provisions analyst's honest, methodical quality, that the largely empty row in the largely full hall represented the available option, and that the available option was what the 40 minutes of the looking had produced, and that the 40 minutes product was the sufficient reason. He sat down. He sat in the seat 2 positions from the end of the largely empty row with the specific, relieved quality of someone who had been looking for a seat for 40 minutes, and who was, in the sitting, present in the sitting with the full quality of the sitting's relief. He looked at the convocation hall. He looked at the session's agenda documentation he had been carrying for 40 minutes. He began to read. He read for approximately 4 minutes before he became aware, with the particular ambient quality of the peripheral attention rather than the directed attention, that the seat directly beside him was occupied. He looked up from the documentation. A Varath woman. She was, he read her with the honest attention of someone who was reading the person beside him, because the person beside him was there, and the honest attention was the natural quality, present in the seat with the specific, complete quality of someone who was very still. Not the restless stillness of someone waiting for something, the particular, complete stillness of someone who was in the stillness with the full quality of the genuine stillness. The specific character of someone for whom the stillness was the natural state, rather than the managed state. She was looking at the convocation hall with the full quality of the directed attention. She had the specific quality. He read this with the honest attention, and filed it with the honest quality of someone noting the accurate observation, of someone for whom the space communicated the complete picture with the full quality of someone reading the complete picture rather than the individual details. He said in the common language with the quality of the natural greeting, "The session doesn't start for another 20 minutes. Have you read the agenda? She looked at him. She looked at him with the full quality, not the directed attention of someone who had been reading the convocation hall and who was, in the turning, giving the turn the partial quality of the partial reallocation. The complete quality of the full attention turned to the person beside her with the particular, complete character of someone who was, in the turning, giving the person beside her the full quality of the complete attention. He looked at her. She looked at him, she said, "You sat here." "Yes," he said. The row was largely empty. The hall is largely full. The largely empty row in the largely full hall seemed the straightforward solution to 40 minutes of looking for a seat. She looked at him. "You sat here," she said again, with the quality of someone who was in the genuine space of the significant information, and who was, in the being, processing the significant information with the full quality of the genuine processing. "Yes," he said. "Was the seat taken? I can move if the seat was taken. I have been looking for 40 minutes, so the moving would require additional looking, but I am prepared to do the additional looking if the seat was taken." She looked at him for a long moment. "The seat was not taken," she said. "Good," he said. "Then the 40 minutes of looking have concluded." He extended his hand in the Accord's standard greeting. "Kale Davin." Accord Trade Provisions Analyst. She looked at his extended hand. She looked at it with the particular quality of someone who was in the genuine space of something, that the something's character made the specific, honest quality of the unexpected. She took his hand. "Sale Vorn," she said. "Good to meet you," he said. "Have you read the session's agenda? There are 3 provisions items in the second hour that I have significant concerns about, and I have been looking for someone to discuss them with for the past 40 minutes. She looked at him. "The provisions items," she said. "Yes," he said. "The third corridor's resource allocation sub-provisions. The framework has a specific structural issue that I have been attempting to communicate through the appropriate channels for 6 months, and that has not, in the 6 months, been communicated through the appropriate channels with the quality the issue deserves." He paused. "Do you work in provisions?" She looked at him. "No," she said. "That's fine," he said. "The issue is legible without the provisions background. It's fundamentally a structural problem. The framework's bilateral assessment mechanism has a coverage gap that the current provisions don't address, and the coverage gap will produce a specific, predictable failure at the 3rd year of the implementation." He looked at her. "I can explain it if you're interested. I find it helps to explain it to someone who doesn't have the provisions background because the explaining produces the honest assessment of whether the concern is as legible as I think it is." She looked at him, she said, "Explain it." He explained it. He explained it with the 7 years quality, the specific, methodical quality of someone who understood the provisions framework with the complete quality of 7 years of the honest analysis, and who was, in the explaining, giving the explanation the full quality the explanation deserved. Not the performed explanation, the genuine explanation, the particular, honest quality of someone who had a real concern, and who was explaining the real concern because the real concern deserved the explaining. She listened. She listened with the full quality of the complete attention, the specific, particular quality of someone giving the explanation, the full quality of the honest attention, without the partial quality of someone listening with the portion of the attention, the polite acknowledgement required. He noticed the quality of the listening. He noticed it with the honest attention of someone who had explained the provisions concerned to many people over the 6 months, and who had, in the explaining, built the particular, honest knowledge of the different qualities of the listening that the different people produced. Most people listened with the polite acknowledgments quality. Some listened with the genuine interests quality. Very few listened with the full quality of the complete attention. She listened with the full quality of the complete attention. He explained the concern. He explained the coverage gap and the bilateral assessment mechanism's structural issue, and the 3rd year's predictable failure, and the specific, honest quality of why the 6 months of the appropriate channels had not produced the appropriate quality of the concern's communication. She listened. When he concluded, she said, "The coverage gap is present in the 2nd corridor's sub-provisions as well." He looked at her. "The 2nd corridor," he said. "Yes," she said. "The bilateral assessment mechanism's structural issue is not specific to the 3rd corridor. The same structural issue is present in the 2nd corridor's sub-provisions with the particular quality of a coverage gap that will produce the failure at the 2nd year rather than the 3rd. He looked at her. "The 2nd year," he said. "Yes," she said. The second corridor's implementation timeline is 14 months ahead of the third corridor's. The failure will arrive in the second corridor 14 months before it arrives in the third. He was very quiet. I have been analyzing the third corridor for 6 months, he said. I have not been analyzing the second corridor. No, she said. The third corridor's concern is legible. The second corridor's concern requires the second corridor's specific technical knowledge. Which you have, he said. Yes, she said. He looked at her. Sail Vorn, he said. What is your function at the convocation? She looked at him. The Varath sovereignty's senior diplomatic representative, she said. He looked at her. The senior representative, he said. Yes, he said. For the Varath sovereignty, he said. Yes, she said. He looked at the largely empty row. He looked at the convocation hall's largely full character. He looked at the largely empty row again. The row was largely empty, he said, because you were in it. Yes, she said. The session began at the appropriate hour. He remained in the seat. This was, in the specific, honest account of what had occurred in the interval between the realization and the session's beginning, not the straightforward quality of someone who had simply remained. The particular, honest quality of someone who had processed the significant information with the full quality of the honest assessment, and who had, in the processing, arrived at the honest finding that the significant information did not change the relevant facts. The relevant facts, the seat was available. The session was beginning. The second corridor's coverage gap was a real concern that he had not known about and that the person beside him had identified with the specific, authoritative quality of someone who knew what they were talking about. He remained. The session began. The convocation hall's 12,000 delegates settled into the sessions beginning with the particular quality of the significant gathering, doing what the significant gathering did when the significant function began. He became aware in the session's first 10 minutes of the specific, ambient quality of the attention. Not the session's attention, the convocation hall's attention. The particular directed quality of the convocation hall's 12,000 delegates' ambient awareness, producing the specific, notable character of a significant portion of the ambient awareness directed at the largely empty row in the eastern section. At him, at the person beside him. He looked at the convocation hall. He looked at the faces, the specific, readable quality of the expressions, the particular honest character of what the expressions communicated about the people expressing them. The expressions communicated something between alarm and the specific, confused quality of someone who was reading a picture they did not have the complete framework to explain. He looked at the person beside him. She was reading the session's documentation with the complete attention. He said quietly in the common language, "People are looking at us." "Yes," she said, without looking up from the documentation. "At you specifically," he said. "Yes," she said. "Why?" he said. She looked up from the documentation. She looked at him. "How much do you know about the Varath sovereignty's governance structure?" she said. "The provisions' relevant portions," he said. "The institutional framework as it relates to the resource allocation agreements and the bilateral assessment mechanisms, and the specific, technical quality of the governance structures interface with the Accord's provisions framework." "And outside the provisions' relevant portions," she said. "Less," he said. She looked at him. "The Varath sovereignty's senior diplomatic representative," she said, "is the sovereignty's primary external interface, the specific institutional quality of the position that conducts the sovereignty's significant external relationships with the full quality of the sovereignty's authority." "Yes," he said, "I know the position." "The position is held," she said, "by the person the sovereignty's governance structure determines is the appropriate holder of the position." "Yes," he said. "The determination," she said, "is based on the specific, comprehensive assessment of the relevant capabilities." "Yes," he said. "The relevant capabilities," she said, "include the diplomatic functions requirements and the strategic assessments requirements and the specific, particular requirement of the position's external engagement quality." "Yes," he said. "The external engagement quality," she said, "that the position requires is the quality that produces the specific institutional outcomes the sovereignty's external relationships require." He looked at her. "You are describing your own qualifications," he said. "Yes," she said. "Why?" he said. She looked at the convocation hall. "Because the external engagement quality that the position requires," she said, "and that I have been performing for 11 years has produced the specific accumulated character of someone whose presence at the significant gatherings produces the particular ambient response you are currently observing." He looked at the convocation hall, he looked at the expressions, he looked at the largely empty row. They are afraid of you, he said. Yes, she said. He was quiet for a moment. The row was largely empty, he said, because 12,000 delegates from 47 civilizations chose the largely full portions of the largely full hall over the seat beside you. Yes, she said. He looked at the session's documentation. He looked at the person beside him. The second corridor's coverage gap, he said. The bilateral assessment mechanism's structural issue. The second year's failure. Yes, she said. You identified it in approximately 4 minutes of the explanation, he said. Yes, she said. That is the specific, authoritative quality of someone who has been working in the relevant space with the relevant knowledge for the relevant time, he said. Yes, she said. The fear, he said. The largely empty row, the expressions. Yes, she said. And the second corridor's coverage gap, he said. Yes, she said. He looked at the session's agenda documentation. The third corridor's provisions item is in the second hour, he said. Yes, she said. If the second corridor's provisions item is in the agenda, he said, it will likely be in the first hour. The implementation timeline is 14 months ahead. Yes, she said. The second corridor's provisions item is the fourth item of the first hour. He looked at the agenda. He found the fourth item of the first hour. He read it. He said, the structural issue is not visible in the item's framing. No, she said. The item's framing reflects the 6 months of the appropriate channel's quality. Which is insufficient, he said. Yes, she said. The item's framing will produce the discussion of the insufficient quality that the insufficient framing deserves. He looked at the agenda item. He looked at the person beside him. You have been attempting to communicate the second corridor's concern through the appropriate channels, he said. For 8 months, she said. 8 months, he said. Yes, she said. The second corridor's implementation timeline is 14 months ahead of the third corridor's. I identified the structural issue 14 months earlier than you identified the third corridor's structural issue. The 8 months of the appropriate channels have produced the same quality as your 6 months. He was quiet. The same quality, he said. Yes, she said. Insufficient. He looked at the agenda. The fourth item of the first hour, he said. Yes, she said. And the third corridor's item in the second hour, he said. Yes, she said. He looked at the convocation hall. He looked at the 12,000 delegates and the 47 civilizations and the specific, significant quality of the significant gathering present in the same space with the full quality of the significant gathering. The appropriate forum, he said. She looked at him. Yes, she said, the appropriate forum. He looked at the agenda documentation. I have never spoken at a convocation session, he said. No, she said. The speaking requires the formal registration, he said. The registration requires the 30-minute advance notice. Yes, she said. He looked at the time. 22 minutes before the first hour begins, he said. Yes, she said. If I register now, he said, I will have the 8 minutes of registration time remaining before the first hour begins. Yes, she said. He looked at the registration desk's location. He looked at the largely empty row. He looked at the person beside him. You could register yourself, he said. The Varath Sovereignty's senior diplomatic representative's registration at the convocation session would have the institutional weight that the 8 months of the appropriate channels have not had. She looked at him. Yes, she said. Why haven't you? He said. She looked at the convocation hall. The Varath Sovereignty's senior diplomatic representative's registration at the convocation session, she said, would produce the specific institutional response that the position's registration produces. The fear, he said. The fear, she said. The particular compressed quality of the significant gathering receiving the position's formal engagement with the full quality of the fear that 11 years of the position's external engagement quality has produced. She paused. The fear produces the defensive institutional response. The defensive institutional response produces the provisions items discussion in the defensive quality. The defensive quality produces the insufficient outcome. He looked at her. But my registration, he said. Your registration, she said, produces the Accord's mid-level trade provisions analyst speaking to the second corridor's structural issue with the specific, technical quality of 7 years of the honest analysis. The technical quality without the institutional weight, the concern without the fear. He looked at her. You need me to say it, he said. Yes, she said, because I don't produce the fear, he said. Yes, she said. You sat in the largely empty row because you were looking for a seat. You asked if I had read the agenda because the session was 20 minutes away, and you had concerns about the provisions items. You explained the third corridor's structural issue because you needed someone to explain it to, and I was there. She looked at him. You have been speaking to me for 38 minutes without the fear. He looked at her. I didn't know, he said. No, she said, I know. He was quiet. And now you know, she said. He looked at the convocation hall. He looked at the 12,000 delegates and the ambient awareness directed at the largely empty row. He looked at the person beside him. The second corridor's structural issue, he said. Walk me through it, the complete version, 7 minutes. She looked at him, she walked him through it. 7 minutes of the complete version. The specific, complete quality of the authoritative knowledge, given the full quality of the honest explanation. The second corridor's structural issue laid out with the particular, precise quality of 8 months of the comprehensive analysis, present in the 7 minutes with the full quality of the 8 months product. He listened with the complete attention. He said, I'm going to register. He stood. He walked to the registration desk with the specific, methodical quality of someone who had made the decision, and who was, in the walking, completing the decision's product. He registered, he walked back, he sat, she looked at him. You have 8 minutes, she said. Yes, he said, help me with the framing. She helped him with the framing. He spoke at the 4th item of the first hour. He spoke with the 7 years quality and the 7 minutes complete version and the 8 minutes framing. The specific, methodical quality of someone who had the technical knowledge and the honest concern, and the particular, direct quality of someone who was saying the accurate thing, because the accurate thing was what the moment required. He was not performing the speaking. He was saying the accurate thing. The convocation hall listened. The convocation hall listened with the particular quality of 12,000 delegates receiving the technical concern from the mid-level trade provisions analyst with the full quality of the technical concern's honest communication, not the defensive quality, not the institutional response's compressed character. The honest quality, the particular honest quality of somewhere receiving the accurate thing said with the honest communication's full quality. The discussion produced the outcome the honest communication deserved. Not the complete resolution, the specific, realistic quality of the significant gatherings function producing the honest progress the honest communication had built the foundation for. The structural issue acknowledged. The assessment mechanisms review committed. The 14-month timeline's urgency registered in the official record with the complete quality the urgency required. He sat down. The session continued. At the second hour's provisions item, he spoke again, the third corridor's structural issue, the same honest quality, the same direct communication. The same outcome. Honest progress built on the honest communication's foundation. The session concluded at the 15th hour. The convocation hall's 12,000 delegates began the post-session dispersal with the particular quality of the significant gathering, doing what the significant gathering did at the significant function's conclusion. He sat in the largely empty row. The person beside him sat in the largely empty row. The largely empty row's character had not changed. The hall was dispersing, and the largely empty row was, in the dispersing, still largely empty with the full quality of the largely empty row's particular, persistent character. He looked at the hall, he said, both items, the honest progress. Yes, she said. The second corridor's review committed, he said. The third corridor's structural issue in the official record. Yes, she said. He looked at the hall. 8 months, he said. The appropriate channels. Yes, she said. And 47 minutes of the largely empty row, he said. She looked at him. Yes, she said. 47 minutes. He looked at her. You wouldn't let me leave, he said. She looked at him with the full quality. Not the institutional quality, not the Varath sovereignty's senior diplomatic representative's particular, precise register. The specific underneath quality of someone who was in the genuine space of the honest acknowledgement. No, she said, I would not. Why, he said, the honest answer. She looked at the convocation hall. Because in 11 years of the external engagement quality, she said, the largely empty row has been the consistent quality of the significant gatherings. The 12,000 delegates and the 47 civilizations and the particular, persistent character of the largely empty row. She paused. And in the largely empty row's 11 years, no one has sat in the adjacent seat because they were looking for a seat. He looked at her. I didn't know, he said. Yes, she said, you sat because you were looking for a seat. You asked about the agenda because the session was 20 minutes away. You explained the provisions concerned because you needed someone to explain it to. She looked at him. The specific, complete quality of someone who was simply present in the function, with the honest quality of the function. He looked at her. Without the fear, he said. Without the fear, she said. Yes. He was quiet for a moment. The second corridor's structural issue, he said. 8 months of the appropriate channels. Yes, she said, and you needed someone without the fear to say it, he said. Yes, she said. The instrumental quality, he said. You needed the instrument. She looked at him. The instrumental quality was present, she said. Yes. The second corridor's structural issue required the voice without the fear, and you were the available voice without the fear. And, he said. She looked at him with the full quality. And, she said, the specific, particular quality of someone who sat in the largely empty row because they were looking for a seat, and who asked about the agenda because the session was 20 minutes away, and who explained the provisions concerned because the explaining was the natural thing. That quality is not the instrumental quality. He looked at her. What is it? He said. She looked at the convocation hall. In 11 years of the external engagement quality, she said, the largely empty row has been the consistent quality. The 12,000 delegates and the 47 civilizations all reading the room with the complete quality of the room's reading and choosing the largely full portions accordingly. She looked at him. And in 47 minutes of the adjacent seat's occupancy, the specific, natural quality of someone who was simply present in the function without reading the room at all. He looked at her. I was reading the documentation, he said. Yes, she said. You were reading the documentation. He looked at her. Sail, he said. Her name in the Accord's personal register, not the Varath sovereignty's senior diplomatic representative's formal designation. The name in the register of the honest space. She looked at him. Kale, she said. His name in the Varath personal register, not the Accord's trade provisions analyst's designation. The name in the register of the honest space. He looked at her. The next session, he said. Tomorrow's first hour. Yes, she said. The second corridor's assessment mechanism review, he said. The committee will have the structural issue in the official record. Yes, she said. And the third corridor's provisions item, he said. The committee's agenda. Yes, she said. I will need someone who knows the second corridor's provisions framework with the authoritative quality, he said. She looked at him. Yes, she said. You will. He looked at the largely empty row. The tomorrow's session, he said. The largely empty row. Yes, she said. I will be here, he said, looking for a seat. She looked at him with the full quality of the honest space. The underneath quality, the specific, genuine quality of someone who was in the honest space, and who was, in the being, present in it with the full quality of the genuine response. Yes, she said, the seat will be available. He looked at the convocation hall's dispersing quality and the 47 civilizations, and the 12,000 delegates, and the largely empty row, and the person beside him and the honest space. 47 minutes, he said. Yes, she said. Of the largely empty row, he said. Yes, she said. And the second corridor's structural issue acknowledged, he said. And the third corridor's structural issue in the official record. Yes, she said. The sufficient reason, he said. She looked at him. Yes, she said. The sufficient reason. Outside the convocation hall, the 10th station continued its function with the institutional quality of the significant station, doing what the significant station was built to do. The 12,000 delegates dispersing through the corridors with the post-session quality of the significant gathering's conclusion. The 47 civilizations' representatives doing what the representatives did at the significant function's end. Inside the largely empty row, the trade provisions analyst and the Varath sovereignty's senior diplomatic representative were in the specific, genuine quality of the honest space, the space that the 40 minutes of looking for a seat, and the largely empty row and the agenda question and the provisions concern explained, and the full quality of the complete attention and the second corridor's coverage gap, and the 7 minutes and the 8 minutes and the formal registration, and the fourth item of the first hour said with the honest quality and the honest progress built, and the names in the honest space's register had built. Not the institutional space, not the fear, not the 11 years of the largely empty row's consistent quality, the honest space, where the seat was available because he was looking for a seat, where the agenda question was the natural question because the session was 20 minutes away, where the provisions concern was explained because the explaining was the natural thing, where the name was said in the register of the genuine thing, which was as the 40 minutes and the largely empty row and the adjacent seat, and the agenda question, and the provisions concern, and the complete attention, and the 7 minutes, and the formal registration, and the honest progress and the honest space had always been building toward. Exactly where the function led when it was done with the quality it deserved, and the sufficient reason it required. The seat available, the honest space present, the tomorrow real.